Welcome everybody to Talking Niagara with me, Peter Giblett, and him, Dave Wheeler. Morning,
Hello.
Dave. How you?
Hello from him.
How you doing, sir?
Pretty good yourself.
Yep, not too bad. I looked out the window this morning, and then I discovered we've got, just started raining just about 5 minutes ago. So we've got a yellow.
It's been thundering and lightning for a while.
Yeah, it has. But literally just started.
I think around 4:00. I think it was.
Yeah, but I walked out the door, and the spots of rain were just starting to get on the concrete outside. So the white clear concrete that's got nothing on it is now just getting spots of rain on it. So I literally walked out at the right time when it was starting, and they're basically saying that heavy rain is expected. Saturated frozen ground will have little ability to absorb that rainfall, and like we said on
we talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, but it's actually started now. So 20 to 40 millimeters. Locally, higher amounts may be possible. So it's possible we could have floods.
Yeah. So it would be nice to get to be very careful of what's going on out there. But look, we talked about this yesterday. The ground is still too cold and frozen to be absorbing the water. So you're going to get pooling of water. Anywhere around the rivers, watch out around the creeks and rivers. Watch out for your kids because they can swell quite a bit, and that makes a big difference, and it can happen kind of suddenly too. So if you're tromping around your favorite creek or whatever, just beware of all those things. Yeah, that's a dangerous time of year, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, the snowfall, the rainfall's just happening, so just stay safe, everybody. All right. Morning, Mike. Red River already cresting. Okay. Yeah.
Is that the Red River, Winnipeg, or Manitoba? That Red River, or the Red River here in town, in Ontario here?
Well, yeah, he's probably been looking at some news. We know the way that Mike is. All right, moving on. He just commented back. Ontario. Yeah, but the whole of southern Ontario is on this yellow.
The Red River in Ontario? I know where the Rouge River is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Geez, I don't know where the Red River is in Ontario. I know where the Rouge River is, which is French for red.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay. One story we didn't get to yesterday is that the industry minister, Melanie Joly, mentioned that there's an auto manufacturer was allowed during July to September last year higher quota of imported vehicles from the US because they were making exceptionally larger numbers of vehicles in Canada, and that this was a part of the trade deal that they're doing with auto manufacturers. But the Liberal government is basically whilst it dropped the bulk of its counter tariffs to the US in September, it still maintained 25% on autos that were not compliant with CUSMA.
Well, what was very clear by when Carney got in, we started to match some of the tariffs that were on us, steel, cars, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, but what was stated also by Carney and probably also by anyone else, conservatives and NDP either, as well, when you don't impose tariffs if they are going to be bad for your own people. You try to moderate that. And what they did here was basically moderate what's happening. So they have these tariffs, and they found that they didn't mention the car company, but the car companies were Honda and Toyota. And Honda and Toyota in Canada are making a lot of cars and selling a lot of cars and making a lot of money for Ontario, for Canada, for the auto workers. So the federal government wisely says they're not going to interfere with that. They're going to let these parts come over the border tariff-free to help stimulate and keep those auto companies working well, and the auto workers working. So they're not going to try to impede them by adding this tariff. Now, normally the tariff would happen. Let's say Ford is tariffing our stuff going over there, and therefore we have to pay, or the American people have to pay a tariff on stuff that comes from Canada for a Ford car. Thereby, we have to charge a tariff to our people for stuff that comes from Ford from the U.S. Well, here the government's wisely said tariffs are not a good idea in this particular case.
Yeah. But it was only
we're going to drop the tariff because we want to continue to stimulate this industry, which is just smart move.
It was only for a 3-month period, though, right? Remember, it's only a 3-month period. It was a smart move.
Yeah, well, it will continue to be continue to be reduced depending on how well the industry is doing. So you do not charge a tariff if you're smart on something that is stimulating the economy and helping your workers. People here are making Toyotas and Hondas, and in some cases they're making them for the world market.
Yeah.
So do you really want to interfere with that? No. No. So you don't impose a tariff on that, and you know what I mean. It's kind of like dumb for, let's say, the United States to impose a tariff on Canadian oil. That's dumb, because what you're doing is you're adding costs to your consumer.
Yeah.
You know, the idea of bananas and coffee were come up in the States, for instance. When bananas came in, they're putting a tariff on them. Why put a tariff on a food stuff that you cannot produce? You are hurting your own people by doing that.
Yep, exactly.
If you are growing bananas and your competition is growing bananas, and it's in your favor to keep your own banana farmers doing well, then you put the tariff on outside bananas. But if you don't have any bananas, why put a tariff on something you're going to buy anyway?
Yep,
and that's kind of like the similar thing here that they're doing. Why put a tariff on some that would on parts coming from the United States, where normally you would to do the elbows up thing? You know, you put a tariff on us, we're going to put a tariff on you. But in this particular case, it's unwise because you don't want to put a tariff on, increase the cost of the product that you're making and selling so well.
Yeah,
and stimulating the economy. That's just that's how much smarter we are than the Trump administration, who can't see that. But
again, hey, we're smarter than the Trump administration, but we still have dumbos like these people who pull up in a white SUV and shoot up the U.S. embassy or U.S. consulate at 360 University Avenue, and then speed off in a white SUV, white Honda CRV. So the police basically are looking for this vehicle. They're looking for the people on terrorism charges. So this isn't just, and by all accounts, nobody has been injured. All you've got is some bullets that went into the building. But this is dumb.
Oh God, yeah. I'm wondering if it's the same ones that are shooting up the synagogues.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The war against Iran is a stupid thing. Definitely is a thing that is killing a lot of people.
Yeah.
But you do not win violence with violence. You don't if you want to protest it, you go out there with a sign and you protest it.
Yeah.
You don't protest it with guns. You start shooting bullets around, even if you don't mean to hit anything. You could ricochet a bullet and somebody could get hurt. And these people have handguns too, which bothers me a great deal. Where did you get the goddamn handgun?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know.
And they're pulling up in the middle of the night at University Avenue, 5:30 in the morning, right? When and basically pulled up on a just outside the building and shot at it. And in fact, actually, I looked up this morning where this building, 360 University, it's actually a plain building. It doesn't even have a US flag on it from the picture on Google Maps. Now, that doesn't mean to say it doesn't. It just means to say the picture on Google Maps didn't show me a US flag on it.
All I got to say is whoever doing this is being very, very ineffective.
Yeah,
it's just plain stupid. First, to discharge firearm in anywhere where there's people, even if you're like the ones that are discharging firearms at synagogues and stuff like that. Like, even if your intent is not to kill anybody, just to scare them or make a thing. Like, once you discharge a firearm, you have no idea what that bullet's going to do in the long run. What are you doing? You want to demonstrate, but to shoot at somebody, that's just stupid. So whoever this is a stupid person. And I think if you're gonna, I think in future we're gonna have to take censorship, and we'll have to, one of the things in not censorship, but when we do our census and collect all the different information on all the people, we must have to also add stupid. Are you stupid or are you not stupid? So anytime there's a crime like this, we go straight to the census and go, okay, these are the possible suspects right here.
And who's going to admit to them being stupid, Dave?
Well, stupid people will. Yeah, I'm pretty stupid. I'm more stupid than anyone. In fact, well, peace guy like Trump. I'm like stupid like you've never seen before. Like never before.
Yeah.
But look, the thing is, I don't know where you're going to get people of all kinds.
Oh yeah.
But once you start discharging firearms, you're going to hurt, even if you don't mean to, right? Even if you're just really exasperated by dumbass wars like this one, right? And don't shoot at a synagogue. If you're going to shoot at something, shoot at the Israeli consulate, right? If you shoot at a synagogue, you're going to be called an anti-Semite. You're whatever you might be thinking you're doing by shooting at a synagogue.
Don't shoot anywhere.
As a protest to the war isn't doing anything. That's a synagogue. That's a place where people worship.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Anywhere. Don't
shoot at
anywhere.
Yeah. Well, anyway, like I said, even if you're dumb enough to shoot, don't shoot at a synagogue. Shoot at the consulate. Yeah. Like they shoot at the U.S. consulate or they shoot at the Israeli consulate, right? That's a political statement. It's not a religious or ethnic statement. As dumb as it is, it's a little less dumb if you don't shoot at a synagogue or a mosque or whoever, whatever else, right? Or a church. But I don't know. I have a feeling they'll probably find the guy or they're two guys because they came with a Honda identifiable Honda car, SRV, I think it was.
The whole thing was caught on video, wasn't it? Although
I don't know if they got the license plate though.
Oh, I don't think they caught. Well,
they've shown pictures, but I don't know if they've been able to pick up the license plate. They could have been disguised anyway.
Yeah. It was captured on video, and of course they're not going to show us the license plate.
No, but they didn't even say that they had it. They were asking for other videos because obviously they haven't got enough information on their own.
No,
they got enough information.
Yeah, they need corroboration. You know how it is with police investigations.
Look, all I know is they've got a couple of guys out there with handguns. Number one, where did you get the handgun? And they should go straight to jail for having that damn handgun, right? No ifs, ands, or buts, right? You've got a handgun.
Oh yeah, yeah. I agree. Yeah. In
the Huskow just for that, and then we'll talk about their other stuff. But immediately get in there.
Yeah.
and want to know where that handgun is from.
Yeah.
Now, we could do all kinds of outrage on this, and of course, everybody's outraged by this kind of thing. It's just that one nut after another keeps showing up. They had the guys in New York, and it was New York City with the improvised bombs, trying to throw the improvised bombs. 2 young guys, right, who got radicalized online by ISIS, went to some demonstration and fired and threw these improvised explosive devices. If they did them right, it would have gone off and they would have hurt a lot of people. They were designed to hurt as many people as possible, kill people. And yet these 2 young fellas had no police records, nothing. They're perfectly fine in every other way, but they get radicalized online, and they thought they were going to do the world a favor by killing a bunch of people at a demonstration. Why they'd ever get anybody, why they get that stupid, I don't know, but it happens. So I don't know.
Well, Rick has a good a valid question here. If you're stupid, will you get bail?
No, you should not. No way. Well, it depends on how what crime it is. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're stupid enough to steal an apple off an apple cart when there's all kinds of people watching you, yeah, well, no, you don't need bail. You can get bail for that. But if you're stupid enough to use a firearm and discharge it, even if you discharge it into the air,
I don't think you should get bail at all for that, because I think that's horrific. And as you said, anybody could have been injured or killed.
Yeah. You know what? These guys, like I said, they might only be making a demonstration by shooting at a building. But seriously, you never really know where that bullet's going to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And you never know how excited, if you do say somebody just pops up in front of you and then starts to look at you, and you might get too excited and shoot the gun, or somebody tries to get the gun. Any manner of things can happen. But whoever the fool is, those fools are, I hope they get caught very soon and made an example of. I'm pretty sure whoever they are, they're probably young guys, and their families will be humiliated by their actions. But we got to get them off the street, because they're going to do something stupid again. The next time they might hurt somebody. So get them out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on. Carney is saying Canada will never participate in the Iran war offensive.
Yeah, Carney's been hard to pin down on where he fits in this. Like, when it first started, I expected him to just kind of say the usual, we got to bring this to an end as fast as we can, kind of thing. But he surprised me, and he says, well, yeah, we support any action against Iran's nuclear program and its ability to export terror. Okay, that's Canada's official position. It has been before the war. It has
been for many years. Yeah. Okay. It doesn't surprise me. There's nothing new in that position.
No. So he's very, very careful here, and he supported the effort as long as it was along those lines. But when it became, and I think he probably knew it anyway, when it started to evolve, extrapolate beyond those, obviously it became very obvious that it was very much different than just the nuclear, so-called nuclear threat. That's when Carney says, no, well, we can't no longer support it, because it has gone beyond its mandate. Basically, it is not going after the nuclear stuff, and right now it's just a big war for dominance in oil, and trying to subjugate the Iranian regime. That's a little bit different from making it neutering the Iranian regime, rather than subjugating it, because that's what Trump seems to have wanted in the first place, to subjugate it enough, like they did to the Venezuela thing. They subjugate, bomb the crap out of them, and get them to kind of sort of just comply with the U.S. And so I heard a thing earlier today that said that the strategic war, the military war has been won, but the strategic war has been lost because they beheaded the regime, but the regime bounced back and produced exactly the same kind of leader that it had before.
Yeah,
it has tried to replace that with a more compliant leader. It's tried to neutralize its weaponry and hasn't been able to do that. And it's tried to do that in quick order. Yeah. And right now, Trump is looking for an off ramp in a fast way.
Yeah.
And
this is the third Khomeini. You know,
yeah,
this
it's
is
the third one.
Khomeini, right?
Yeah. First one lasted 10 years. He was the old guy, and then this one, they were talking about the different ethnic groups and how the Azeris might use this as an opportunity to look for more autonomy. But the Khomeini, the last Khomeini, the one they just killed, was an Azeri, which means at least this guy too at least has part Azeri connections. Yeah. So who knows about that? But anyway, it doesn't seem to be going that well for the United States. I mean, they're blasting the crap out of, they're stomping the crap out of Iran all over the place. They've had a minimum of 5,000 destructive bombs dropped on them. They are at will dropping bombs everywhere they can. They have nothing to hold them back, but Iran keeps fighting back, and I think this was a surprise to them. Even though every day they say, "Oh, their capacity is less, but they keep firing back and firing back and firing back. I think that was a big surprise for the U.S. and Israel. Now we also have to know that Israel has different goals than the United States.
Yeah,
Israel wants they want America to do in Iran for them what they did in Iraq, and that is to destabilize the regime. So Iraq was a single country, and it had a growing military presence. So what the U.S. did for Israel basically was to break it apart and destabilize it. So Iraq is basically Kurdistan. There's a Sunni triangle and the Shia majority. So those three are constantly at odds together. They're a destabilizing force, and they will never get together. Same thing as in Libya. They destabilized it by cutting the country in two. So there's two halves of that country now, where there used to be one country. And of course, Syria is in a complete mess too. The other powerful nations in the area have been bought off by the United States, like Egypt. Egypt's been bought off. Egypt depends on the United States to survive. Jordan depends on the United States to survive, although it wasn't a very powerful nation. Saudi Arabia depends on the United States to survive too. It is very afraid of. That's why you don't get a whole lot of human rights people going from the States into Saudi Arabia, from the government, because they don't really care about that. They care about they have oil and they're a stable ally.
Yeah.
But Israel would really want to destabilize Iran. They would like that more than anything, to have the Kurds and the Azeris and whoever, the same kind of thing that's happening in Iraq, happen in Iran. But that doesn't look like it's going to happen. Not soon anyway, and not as a result of this war. So, but they might want to continue it. Trump has better instincts, though. He knows the weekend war is the thing to do. He can drop a lot of bombs, look impressive, and kill a lot of bad guys and look like he's really good. But what's happening here is their inhumanity is coming out. They killed 168 kids, and then he killed their parents with Tomahawk missiles, then try to pretend they didn't do it. And then look at what happened when they torpedoed that ship. They torpedoed a ship, a single frigate from the Iranian Navy that was doing military exercises in Iran. and it was off the coast of Sri Lanka. They hit it with a torpedo, blew it up, killed 80 people, and then just left them there to drown. The rest of the survivors to drown.
Yeah.
Not even the Nazis did that, you know?
Yeah.
Rules of war are like that. You don't torpedo a plane. That's what they did. So the Sri Lankan Coast Guard.
The Sri Lankan Coast Guard only knew about this because they got bodies washing up on their shores.
Yeah. So that's what America's come from? Number one, they knew that the weapons on that frigate could nowhere near challenge that sub. Nowhere near. If the sub surfaced, that frigate couldn't do hardly a thing. There was some question whether it even had any arms on it because it was in a military exercise with other international ships, and they don't really use armor in those situations because they don't want accidents to happen.
Yeah. Right.
They don't want they may have ordnance, but it wouldn't be charged ordnance.
Yeah.
So it's a really weak frigate. It's scantily armed if it is armed, and it's a sitting duck, and they shot it with a torpedo. It's way away from the Gulf too. That's another thing. They shoot it with a torpedo when they could have disabled it easily because they were much more powerful force. Yeah. And so they had to play with their torpedo to see if it works. They shot this frigate. And they left everybody there. They killed 80 people, and then they left the other ones there to drown. That's what's becoming of the United States right now? You don't even follow the Geneva Convention?
That would normally be described as terrorism.
Yeah. There was no purpose at all for knocking that frigate out. They could have captured it with they could have brought it to heel in any number of ways really quickly. They could have captured it as a prize, but they wanted to play with their torpedoes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, moving on. Oh, we got one more comment. The frigate had no arms on it, and they were exercised for India and the US too, and the US followed them home and shot them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what was the purpose of it? Tell me, what was the purpose of knocking out that frigate? It's nowhere near the war zone. It's just come out of an Indian exercise, and you killed 83 guys when you could have brought that frigate to heel in any number of ways, and yet you just had to throw a torpedo in the size of it and kill 83 guys, and then leave 50 or 60 others drowning. Yeah, and then the Sri Lanka. And what you're supposed to do in war is then surface, get the survivors, help the survivors. Right? That's the rules of war. Right? No. The mighty U.S. Navy goes away, blasts the ships, leaves the guys out there to drown, and goes away. It says, "Oh, look what we did." Oh God! And this kid thing too. They killed these kids because they were using old maps. It looks like.
Well, Carney's
what's happening in the United States. Where is their honor?
Yeah. Carney's wanting to actually de-escalate this, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I kind of figured that would be it too. But remember who he's dealing with too. Any wrong word, anything that's will trigger Trump into having a hissy fit again means we're going to have more tariffs. Like Ford puts an advertisement, right, and Trump freaks out. And he puts a 10% more tariff on it. I mean, the guy, you never know what he's going to do.
Yeah, but I'd prefer to have a tariff right now than I would throwing bombs around.
Well, it's not us throwing the bombs around, and I think Carney knows Trump enough not to get them all fired up and triggered, and I think that's part of.
Paul Lemay is saying the sharks have to eat too.
Well, yeah, that's pretty cold, Paul. I mean, these are Iranian Navy guys. They're just guys in the Navy. And, I mean, seriously, they've got families. they've got wives and kids and everything at home, just like an American serviceman does. And this was a cold-hearted shot. They were playing with their torpedoes. They wanted
That's
to use.
one thing that
They haven't sunk a ship with a torpedo since the World War II, and they wanted to test their torpedo. And then they leave the guys lying in the water, and the Sri Lankan Coast Guard's got to come out and save them. And all they had to do was surface, get the guys out of the water, and then hand them over to but they didn't because they're yellow. That's what they were.
And I will agree with Paul Lemire. War is hell. Yes, absolutely.
War is hell. And yeah, we even have had this one. It seems to be getting out of hand. I could see Trump is smart enough to get an off ramp pretty quick. He's not going to get involved like Bush did, like the forever war that Bush did. When Trump declares victory for whatever reason, he'll say, okay, we're done now. He'll walk out of there, and he doesn't want to get involved in a forever war. So he's probably smart enough not to do that, but he didn't really accomplish much. It was a military victory, but a strategic loss.
Yeah.
And because nothing's really changed. Iran, wherever that enriched uranium is, they don't have it. Wherever they haven't been able to stop the missiles, they're still coming. They're cutting off the Straits of Hormuz, which is affecting the world economy. So that's not working out too well. And Israel's still getting bombed. But like I said, Israel's got different plans than the U.S. So they might continue. They're going to annoy Trump forever to keep him going. But I think Trump's smart enough to realize that this is, I can say that I won because I blasted the crap out of Iran, but really not have accomplished too much, except weakened Iran a little bit more, but none of my accomplishments, what I needed. The regime still stays the same. He has spoken to, I forget who he spoke to, what he envisioned. He wanted a Venezuela result where they would somebody in Iran would take over, like Delcy Rodriguez in Venezuela, and then they would just deal with them for the oil and sort of subjugate them that way, like they did Venezuela. But that's not going to work because even though they killed all the top leaders, they left enough of them around. Like, so what they killed one Khomeini just to get a different Khomeini. The IRGC, the Iranian forces are still intact. They're still throwing out missiles. And another thing that we don't hear about is Iran has all kinds of fake sites all over the country. And Israel and some of these, a large part of these 5,000 strikes in Iran were hitting decoys. So Iran's got decoy helicopters, it's got decoy jets, it's got decoy missile silos, and they're being hit like crazy. Something similar to what the Serbians did when the U.S. was bombing Yugoslavia years ago. When they came back later to look at what they had done, they found that they were bombing a lot of decoy sites that were construction. And so that was part of Iran's strategy, is to make the war extremely expensive. And that has been the case. We don't know how many places the U.S. and Israel have bombed that there was nothing there. And so it's going to be a fight to see who's got the most ordnance.
Yeah. And
the United States has to be very, very, very cognizant of that because it can only produce 700 Patriot missiles a year. The other missiles that is construction, it has a time limit on how many they can produce for how long. So just on a strategic level, they're burning through a lot of their ordnance. They've got lots, but they're burning through a lot, and it takes a long time to get over it. There's a $1 billion a day war going on right now, which is adding huge amounts to the American debt. As a matter of fact, I think the U.S. was borrowing $50 billion a day. This is not part of the war, but for other reasons. They haven't been able to manage their debt well enough.
Yeah.
And as Rand Paul had said, the number one threat to the United States is the debt.
Yeah.
And not Iran, who did not have a nuclear bomb and did not have the ability to send it anywhere, even if they had it. And who wants to put a bomb, a missile on a bomb, and it goes to the United States? This is the idiots that think, okay, the Khomeini is going to put an atomic bomb, not even a hydrogen bomb, right? An atomic bomb, send it over, and let's say they can get as far as Florida or something with it, and they blew up, and 20,000, 50,000 people die. Then what does the United States do? It has hydrogen bombs, and it can make Iran look like an ashtray right away.
Yeah.
So you really think Iran's going to send a bomb with a missile to the United States?
All right. One quick question for you. After a lifetime of listening to death to whatever statements, can you really expect much in sympathy when somebody else has pulled the trigger first? Come on.
That death to USA, death to America, death to the little Satans. Like we're Canada's a little Satan. All that's rhetoric. I witnessed this in Libya. Similar stuff. They had weekly or monthly demonstrations against Britain. They had demonstrations against America, the great Satan, America, all that. Most of it was just BS, and nobody really paid attention to it. But you had to join but if you were a student, you pretty well had to go into the demonstration, or there was going to be problems with you. So that's what happens with an authoritarian regime. So all those people chanting out there, death to America, about probably 10% of them really believe it, and the rest of them are there because they have to be.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's part and parcel of that kind of whole, ethos, isn't it? With certain regimes.
Well, yeah, you could say death to you all day long, but they don't really have the means to do anything about that.
And even
they have a weirdo Rama, like the Khomeinis and them have this sort of a religious sort of theocracy there, theocratic government. They're just darn weird, but they can say anything they want. But they don't really have. They're not very that effective.
Well, and the issue about that kind of statements, we've seen situations, and I'm not saying with Khomeini, but we've seen situations whereby you've just finished shaking hands with the president of the United States, and now you're turning around and making a speech, which is death to the USA.
Yeah, so they do this all the time to distract from their own problems, right? Yeah. Just like the United States is now trying to distract its own people away from its own problems by starting this war. They can say, oh, well, we have to protect ourselves from the axis of evil, which includes Iran. Iran's doing the same thing, basically. We have to protect ourselves against the axis of evil, which includes the United States. So when they go and march down the street saying death to America, it's trying to get the people attention away from what's really bothering the country. And this particular war is like, I think some people call it Epstein fury, because they think that part of the reason Trump did this is get people's mind off the Epstein files.
It's okay. It's okay. Everything's okay, Dave. King Trump will fix everything. Everything's okay. Just call your horses. King Trump will fix everything. Come on.
Well, the guy's got an incredible luck, so he might get away with this. He like you said, he might have. It looks right now that he has a strategic fail, because none of his objectives in this war have yet come to fruition. He's definitely weakened the Iranian regime incredibly, but the enriched uranium is still out there. The regime that he wanted to topple is still in place, and the the military abilities of Iran are much weakened, but they are still there. So he will not be able to tell them what to do. He has not pulled off the Venezuela thing he had hoped for.
I don't think he will. No, never was going to happen in Iran.
And I think he's very wary of getting. They were going to get the Kurds to do the wars cost blood and treasure, so they didn't want to use American blood. So they were quite happy to use Kurdish blood and American treasure, but he's wisely decided against that. I think that's a wise move, because that would just open the door for a forever war, and it would suck America in. So the smartest thing Trump can do right now is get out. And I think he's smart enough to get out, say, oh, okay, I won the war. And what did you win? Can't tell you, but I won. And that'll be that,
Yeah.
And he's got to do it pretty soon, or the world economy will, the whole thing will backfire on him. I mean, he's got to sort of iron out a few things before the midterms. He's got to start improving the domestic picture in the United States before the midterms, or he's gonna lose huge. The Republican Party is going to get vanquished.
But it's okay. It's okay. Everything's all okay. The Epstein files are coming back.
Well, they're never going to go away.
No.
And the Republicans got nobody to blame but themselves. They nagged about it for the 4 years that Biden was in, and then finally they say, oh, we got to get them open. Oh, Clinton's all over it and all this. And when they open them up and see all their buddies in there, including guys like Ludnick and Elon Musk and Trump, and Trump's all over the airplane files. And oh God, like once they took a look in there, said, hey, wait a minute, let's put the lid back on this, but they couldn't.
Yeah. All right.
Now they know why Biden. Now they know why the Biden administration didn't open it up. It's just a big can of worms.
Yeah. Okay. And white nationalist activity in Niagara is supposedly growing, according to the Niagara Regional Anti-Racism Association and the Niagara Regional Police. Saleh Waziruddin, who's the Niagara Niagara Region Anti-Racism Association, NRARA, is basically putting this back on the agenda. This is something we talked about a year and a half ago, I think. Groups such as N13, Second Sons, and Dominion Society. Basically, he's saying that all over Niagara, pointing to a few key trends. But again, this was brought up about a year and a half ago and was dismissed back then.
Yeah, this kind of bothers me a little bit, because actually some of this, I'm not so sure it's all complete white nationalism. There seems to be an area of ignorance here where a lot of people think that, like I read something on Facebook the other day where it said the United States, the different states in the United States are going to make Sharia law illegal. Do you agree with this? Well, Sharia law is illegal all over the United States. It is not supported by the Constitution anywhere.
It's not.
And so either is Hakala, which is the Jewish religious law. That's the same as the Sharia law. That is not supported by the Constitution either.
Yeah.
So who in Hakala or Sharia or even some of the Mennonite religious laws cannot be supported by the Constitution? But that scares people when they say, oh, somebody wants to put Sharia law in here. Who's making Sharia law? We're going to be taken over by Muslims. We're going to have Sharia law. It's impossible. It's impossible. You can't have that. Constitution is a secular, even the right-wing Christians down, the Christian Zionists in the States, or the right-wing Christians, they have their own sort of guides or moral guides, but a lot of those are not legal. They're not supported by the Constitution. They cannot be supported in a court of law. So, but that scares people, though, people who don't understand that, they get scared by that, and they think, oh, wow, the Muslims are going to take over and put Sharia law into place.
When there's zero chance, what would happen is, oh, we're going, so let's put into place the Sharia Law Act, okay? So what will happen is the immediate thing will happen is that it will go straight to the Supreme Court, who say this is unconstitutional.
Yeah, it's even the same in Canada.
So
people got afraid of Sharia law in Canada. What happens in Canada, the Jewish laws that were based on the Torah and the Sharia laws that was based in Islam, they are exercised in the community within where they're not supported legally, but the people who support that religion might say you got to wear a hat and grow a beard, right? That's part of their law. Like, let's say you get an Orthodox Jew. You get an Orthodox Jew, and he's got a hat and he's got a beard. He's got to wear that beard because that's the religious law. Well, they're not imposing that religious law on anyone else, are they?
No, exactly. Right?
So it's a cultural thing.
It's a cultural thing. Yeah.
Sharia law says you can't eat pork, right? You can't eat a pig. Are they imposing that on anyone else?
No. Exactly. No, yeah. And besides which, within Jewish communities, within Islamic communities, within any religious community whatsoever around the world, there are differences between one part of the community and other parts of the community. And they don't, some people are very traditional. Some people wear the skull caps, others don't, and there are very distinct rules, and some people have beards and others don't, right?
Look at Mormonism is a Christian-based religion, but a traditional Mormonism means that you can have more than one wife. You can have a bunch of different wives. That is not supported by the government. It's not supported by, but some Mormons do that. They have biggest relationships, and that is supported by the community, but it's not supported by law.
Yeah. But again, going back to these anti-racism, the comments by Wazaruddin over Second Sons, N13 and Dominion Society, are we really concerned? Are we really scared of these organizations? They really pose a threat in Niagara?
Well, a small amount of people could do a big amount of harm. Look at we talked about earlier about those two dumb kids who got radicalized on and were throwing IUDs in New York there, right? So they were kids that had no police records, were good kids by any other means, good, normal, everyday kids, no crime, no nothing, don't steal, and yet somehow they got radicalized. So those two guys could have killed a lot of people. They could have done a lot of damage. And these people too, these white nationalists, can do a lot of damage too. Few in number as they may, is the radicalization that you have to worry about. And what causes the radicalization a lot of times is ignorance.
Yeah.
They think, okay, we're going to be replaced with replacement theory.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we've been talking about today, is getting rid of the ignorance, because you asked that question about the various religious laws and their applicability in US and Canada. You're absolutely right, because in fact, whilst individuals may obey Sharia law, it has no standing within Canada at all.
Yeah, so it has no standing, and you get people like, look at the guy who came to Buffalo, and he killed 14 people at the Tops Market. Yeah, and his reason for doing that was to stop the replacement theory. Somebody got into his head and told him that white people were being replaced by other people, and he went and he killed a bunch of blacks, American blacks, but he didn't even realize that American blacks are reduced in population, just like they're being replaced as well. American blacks are being replaced by
mostly,
Hispanics and others. The
yeah,
whites, they're not really even being replaced. They're not replenishing their numbers. So
yeah,
he killed a bunch of black people because somebody got into his head and said, these black people are going to replace the white people. Right? What kind of ignorance stimulates that kind of a mind, right?
yeah, yeah.
All he had to do is a little research. If he did 5 minutes of little research,
Educate yourself. Educate yourself. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, of course, what is behind any hate motivated incident that you like to consider almost anywhere, isn't it?
well, a lot of it is rage. So they tell a false fact, and then they stimulate rage and anger. Well, Fox knows this. Fox is excellent at like a lower tier type of thing like that. If you watch Fox, they want to get you enraged and really they'll point out certain things in society and get you all wound up and all enraged and all that, and they can feed you anything.
Yeah,
and people get all upset. That's why they keep tuning in every day. But you get the wrong person, and they believe that stuff, and they take actions on it.
Yeah. Well, personally, I'm thinking that we need to monitor, particularly any hate-related crimes that do happen. The police need to clamp down on it, and the courts need to basically lock them up and throw away the keys if there are hate-related crimes occurring. But I'm not so sure we're seeing evidence of that. That's my concern.
Well, yeah, well, you got to keep an eye on them, like I said. So you saw the hate crime motivated in New York City, right?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of kids that got radicalized and they tried to commit a hate crime. Thankfully, they didn't get it. They didn't know what they were doing. Good thing for that. There are other people, the hate crimes that were committed by that kid that shot up Tops. There's hate crimes like somebody shooting up a synagogue. That's a hate crime. I mean, if you shoot up the Israeli, like I said before, the consulate, then that could be political. You're being a dummy shooting it up, but it's a political demonstration. But shooting at a synagogue, that is a hate crime because you're shooting at worshipers trying to just keep their culture going, And
so Ricky asked the question: who shot Charlie Kirk?
Well, I think the nut that shot him was the nut that shot him. I don't think it was Bibi Netanyahu behind that one, although they were putting a lot of pressure on Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk started to turn away from what was happening in Gaza. Being a Christian, he couldn't face, so the story goes, if you're a true Christian, you can't really tolerate that kind of suffering. It cannot be justified, the kind of suffering they were dumping on Gaza. But Israel got really mad at him for taking that kind of an opinion. And he began to question AIPAC and the power that it had in the United States. And his Christian beliefs were kind of conflicting with what was happening in Israel. So Bibi Netanyahu, the first thing he did was we had nothing to do with it. Right. Yeah. Because they knew that there was this conflict going on.
Yeah.
But I don't think Israel had anything to do with it, to tell you the truth. I think it was the nut that killed him was a nut.
Yeah. All right. I think we can nail this particular topic on the head because I think there's something else that needs to be looked at locally. Niagara paramedics are looking at going on strike, threatening strike action. According to an article that was in the Standard, they're vying for wage parity with other first responders.
Yeah, this is. They say that they're losing men, or losing not just men, but personnel. They're going. Our paramedics are going other places where the wage parity is better. They want wage parity with other responders. They figure they're about $9 behind, $9 an hour behind. Wow. According to this, I see one of the names there is Michael Gabriel, and I'm wondering if it's related to the Gabrielis I went to school with. It kind of looks like one of the Gabrielis. Anyway, aside from that, that's just a sort of an offshoot. So basically, they're just saying like we want equity, and they are pointing out that we don't have enough paramedics here, and quite often they go with they have to put out a crew with not enough men or not enough people in it, particularly in the summertime, I guess, because of the vacations and so on. So what they're saying is we are being underserved, and the paramedics here are being underpaid. And when the paramedics here find another job where they can get a better pay, they'll go there. They may go to Peel. I would say that if you want to go to Peel, go ahead and go to Peel. Try to find a place to live. It's going to cost you a fortune. So possibly the paramedics will live down here and get the job in Peel and just travel there for the days they were on shift. You know, so I'm not so sure what to think about this, except that, of course, you want parity with the other responders. That's only fair. And we do need more. They claiming that we are underserved here in our community as far as paramedics go, and even the crews that are out there are undermanned sometimes.
Well, one of the questions about they're talking about whenever you see wage negotiations and they're talking about burnout rate being high, you've got to be concerned.
Yeah, you definitely do, particularly an essential service like that.
Yeah,
paramedics could save you.
Paramedics
could save
a hard job.
Life.
Let's be blunt about it. Being a paramedic in the ambulance, that's a hard job. That's a tough job. I wouldn't, that's a job that I think you have to be brave to be doing. And I understand why burnout is high, but typically with a lot of those types of jobs, they have people who help them manage burnout.
Possibly, but it's right down to money and resources. So you might not have enough resources to employ enough people to be in the burnout therapy. You might not have enough resources to help people who are getting burned out or addressing that. And most of the time you're getting burned out is because you're being overworked or restrained, something of that kind. And so if you're being overworked, then what does that mean? We need more paramedics. And if you cannot attract the paramedics because you're selling the new paramedics that are coming out of paramedic school, so to speak, look around and they see they can get $9 an hour over there in Peel, or better wages over there or over here, and not in the Niagara region. So I don't know. They might get the foot in the door in the Niagara region and then just go for looking for where the grass is greener.
Mm-hmm. And that often happens with many types of jobs. But again, you go, if you can earn $9 an hour more in Peel region, you might be going there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a better job.
Yeah. So anyway, I would think that I don't know. That should be addressed. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah.
This is the claim. Are we being underserved? And when the crews go out, are they often undermanned? Oh, it's Gary's son.
Gary,
yeah, I worked with Gary. As a matter of fact, he worked for me when I was a foreman on the job on a bridge we were working for over the canal. When the canal shut down, we went in and did work. And Gary was a permit worker that came on my crew.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he came on our crews once in a while. He was a permit guy. He didn't belong to the hall, but he was a permit guy. He came on once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I knew. I think it was Ronnie is the guy I went to school with, but Gary I knew too.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go. Schoolmates. Yeah. Meeting back later on. Niagara taxes will be well over 20 to 40% the police's budget cost, and add EMS. And adding EMS. Yeah, I get that. I get that, Rick. We do have to consider that. And Paul says they're his cousins.
Oh, they're cousins. Okay. Oh, all right.
You didn't know that, eh?
I don't think. No, I didn't know. I didn't know they were.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Well, I remember Ronnie being very athletic.
Mm.
I remember he was a hell of a good athlete.
So
I remember the mother too. I remember Mrs. Gabrielli worked in what is it, Super Save or whatever, or Steinberg's or whatever that grocery store was in the plaza there, right beside the school. We used to go in there and hang out in the wintertime. We'd just step inside the grocery store and hang out there. And Mrs. Gabrielli would be there all the time as cashier.
So, Paul, we've got a big question to go, and I'm not proposing we can answer it now, but I'm going to put it out there on air so you can consider it. What's the budget impact, and how are we going to pay for this? Because clearly the budget.
Don't get them started. Don't get them started.
Budget here is a big problem. If we're going to be paying these guys $9 an hour, that's going to impact our budget.
Well, it's an open question. A small thing.
I don't expect an answer to today, Dave.
Yeah. That's Niagara Health anyway. I don't know how much money comes out of the local. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that could.
I don't know what the impact is on Niagara Health budget either.
Well, it's definitely all these positions put a strain on the budget, of course. But I think what Paul's after more or less is the big budget items and the efficiencies that come, the possible efficiencies that come with amalgamation, and those are the big ticket things. The other stuff is like, even they talked about reducing the amount of politicians. Well, that's I suppose good ideologically, but it really isn't going to save us a whole lot of money.
Yeah, to a large extent, we do need wage parity across any kind of organization because it leaves a lot of people in an area like Niagara very concerned. It leaves a brain drain out of Niagara, if you know what I mean. They've been here for decades already.
Who's been here for decades?
This is Phil Lococo.
Who's been there for decades?
Don't know. I'm presuming the people you're talking about, the friends, the school friends you're talking about.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, obviously, because I knew them. I didn't really hang out with Ronnie or Gary. I just knew them.
You knew them. Yeah, I know. Yeah, people in Rick's response to that is UFOs. I think, hey, guys, I think it's time we wrap it up. Clearly, this is going off track.
Yeah, we're going to budgets to UFOs. Yeah, well, next thing you know, I'll start talking about dinosaurs again, and everybody will get bored and turn us off anyway.
So, Dave?
Yes, well, I'm going to bring it up every time I do. Gaza's a nightmare right now. The people are suffering terribly there. There's no housing for them, very little housing. The children are cold and hungry, and it's a mess, and they're not going to school. And the Israeli government is brutally harsh on them. And believe me, they are as bad as any Islamic group, the settler movement and everything. They're very extremist. And Charlie Kirk would tell you that they would spit on any Christian, in Jerusalem. So, look, we got to, this has got to stop. Like, if Israel's claiming to be democracy, a Western aligned democracy, then they should behave like one and start taking care of these people they just bombed the smithereens out of. And the West has got to get in there and insist that we do that too. You cannot leave people in a condition like that.
Yeah.
Without further ado, I bid you adieu. Pray for peace.